Charles Krauthammer, Fox News contributor, syndicated columnist, and author of the book Things That Matter. Charles, your thoughts on what we've seen tonight?
Well, I think this was a major inflection point in the Republican campaign. Ted Cruz was saying all last week, the week before, that if Donald Trump won in Iowa, he probably would win in New Hampshire and he would run the table. And he wasn't only scaring the people in Iowa and trying to get their support. I think he was absolutely right. I think had Trump won, it would have reinforced the sense of inevitability, the momentum he's had. Remember, ever since he declared in June, everything he's done somehow was golden. And for instance, he would say outrageous things and his numbers would go up, remain steady or would go up. And this is the first time he's encountered defeat. This is a guy who says over and over again, I'm a winner, I don't lose, I've never lost, I'm not going to lose. And this punctures that. And I think it has two effects. One is on the audience, one is on the voters, people who've been swept up in this, and you go out to see a guy who isn't only entertaining in his speeches, but who you think is inevitably going to be the nominee and perhaps the president. But the second effect, I think, is probably more important. And that is the effect it has on the media and on the sense that we have to follow and listen to everything he says. Every time he raises an issue, every time he says something, every speech he gives, every rally is covered as if it's, you know, the word from heaven. Again, because of this sense that this guy is a winner and he's on his way. That's going to have to change. There's going to be a lot of attention now to what Cruz is saying and Rubio is saying. This is now a three-man race. There is no establishment lane. There's a Cruz campaign, which is sort of austere conservatism. There's the Trump campaign, which is a populist, a Trumpist, if you want, because it's extremely idiosyncratic. And you've got Rubio, who's the mainstream, more moderate conservative. That's what it is. Establishment, non-establishment is irrelevant. But the Trump train has been interrupted. Not to say he won't win. He's going to win in New Hampshire. He'll probably win elsewhere. But now it's going to be a long slog, and he doesn't run the table.
He tweeted out in June, quote, "No one remembers who came in second," quoting Walter Hagen. Donald Trump did. No one remembers who came in second.
Or Vince Lombardi, winning isn't the main thing. It's the only thing. And that's been the Trump message, and it's now punctured.
What
Not
effect,
irrevocably, but punctured.
What effect, if any, do you believe Trump skipping the debate on Thursday night had? Because you just heard Mike Emanuel say that Marco Rubio's campaign is saying they believe that was critical, that it gave Marco Rubio all the oxygen he needed to cement that last-minute surge.
Well, I think that's right. I think it had two effects. Number one is without Trump on the stage, and remember, throughout the campaign, he dominates every news cycle, no matter where he is, what he does, what he says. And when he's off the stage in a campaign debate, he absents himself. Look, imagine if he'd been in the debate, no matter how he did, he would be the center of all the coverage and would sort of wipe out and diminish his opponents. So he didn't show up. He allowed the others to come out and shine, and I thought it really helped Rubio, who obviously he had twice as many late deciders supporting him as Trump. And the second reason is you saw from anecdotal evidence of people who said Iowa's different, Iowa's special. We expect individual care and, if you like, even coddling by candidates. And this was a kind of a slap in the face at Iowans who take their responsibility very seriously. A caucus is a pretty serious responsibility, and it requires a lot of effort, and Trump didn't. And I think that cost him a few votes, and, you know, it was a 4-point spread, and he beat Rubio by only 1 point.
And so talk about the fortunes of Marco Rubio now, who, at least in the last entrance poll we get these updates in waves. He actually did better than Trump when it came to voters for whom the economy was the #1 issue. This has always been Trump's sweet spot.
Well, look, I think Rubio is remarkably articulate. I don't think there's anybody who denies that. And when he gets out there, when he makes the case, when he speaks about his own past, rising from his immigrant, the immigrant situation in which he grew up.
And he had no prompter tonight, no prompter.
And you can see the ease with which he does this. And then he spins it into a story about the American dream, American opportunity, and then he talks to some extent about the ways he's going to do it. He's got a great story to tell. And when it gets out there, I think it has an effect. So I think in a state like Iowa, where he put in a lot of effort the last couple of weeks, that really resonated. Trump went around on the plane, and he opened it up and had the kids running around in his airplane yesterday. It's great showmanship, and people have this idea he's a businessman, so he'll be able to fix things. When they think about it seriously, at the caucus, they have to make the case, they give speeches, and listen. I think the Rubio message prevailed. And I think it's sort of an encouraging sign that on ideas and being specific and not just talking about things in generalities, you can actually prevail, and he did. Essentially, ideas over celebrity.
Ted Cruz has got the wind at his back right now, however. He is the winner, and by a decisive margin, and making the case tonight that you need a constitutional conservative. Is he too conservative for New Hampshire or the states that are going to follow, or do you think the Iowans really sold Ted Cruz to the American public tonight?
No, I think he is a fairly hardline conservative. Look, he and Rubio have infinitely more in common than either of them has with Trump in terms of philosophy, because they both argue that Trump is not a conservative, and I think they are right. But between them, it's a matter, between Rubio and Cruz, it's a matter of a tone and inclusiveness. Rubio is the more mainstream, the softer one. The Cruz's has a harder edge, which I think means that in a general election he'd have a harder time. But either way, among the Republican electorate, I think each of them has a very strong case to make.
I have to go, but I want to get you quickly to weigh in on what we saw tonight on the Democratic side.
I take the view that a win is a win is a win, especially if Hillary, who had been humiliated 8 years ago, doesn't lose, even if it's by a whisker. If you win, I think it's really different from having collapsed in the face of a socialist 8 years after her humiliation in 2008. She's going to lose in New Hampshire, and hanging over her is this uncertainty about what's happening in the FBI investigation, which I think really hurts her subliminally. Not that Democrats care about the substance of that, but they worry about a shoe dropping and having no alternative if they nominate her. So I think that's hurting her as well. Given all that, she needed the win. She got the win. It's probably enough.
Well, we haven't called it. It's too close to call officially.
Well, if she loses, then it really is a defeat for her. But she is slightly ahead, I think. I think, haven't some of the other networks called it on their projections?
They have, but Fox News has not. We're officially saying it's too close to call.
Well, I'm entertaining the possibility that others could actually be correct. It could be a radical idea, but it might be true. But anyway.
You take it up with the Fox News decision desk. You ask Karl Rove how that works out. I got to go.
Sure.
Charles, it's great to see you. Thank you so much for your thoughts.